If you're moving to North Atlanta and schools are one of your top priorities, you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to talk about some of the schools here in North Atlanta. We're going to talk about some of the best neighborhoods, and stick around until the end because we're going to share with you some hidden gems that you may not know about. Hey, I'm Allison.
And I'm Jennifer, and we are realtor moms living in the North Atlanta area. This topic, I think, is near and dear to our heart. So if you have questions and want to learn more, reach out. Our information is down below. So let's just dive into the best school districts in the area. We'll go through them and kind of give you some information about what's great about them and what's not so great about them.
North Atlanta is home to some of the top schools in Georgia. Today, we're going to talk about the top 3 that consistently rank very high. Fulton County is one of the largest school districts in the Atlanta area. And it's important to know that Fulton County is so large that it spreads all the way south of the airport, all the way up to the North Atlanta suburbs. So today, we're going to focus primarily on the North Atlanta suburbs because that's where we live, that's where we work, but also because that is where the schools are ranked the highest.
Okay, so let's look at first how we are coming up with these rankings. These are coming from the niche.com and they're coming from US News and World Report. And the way that they do these rankings, and they're both very similar, so we cross-reference these, but the way that they do these rankings is they come up with attributes and they weight them. So the top 3 most important attributes that they're using to rank these schools are going to be college readiness, the state assessment proficiency, and the state assessment performance. There are some other attributes that are used, but they're not weighted quite as much. So let's go with those.
Schools in Johns Creek, Alpharetta, and Milton are some of the most highly ranked schools in Fulton County. These schools specifically tend to trade places, falling in that 3rd, 4th, and 5th category. These schools are known for their, STEM programs, parent involvement, just overall ranking pretty high on some of the things that Jen talked about.
I think college preparatory is really the key in all of these schools, and you're going to see that across the board. So Chattahoochee High School, which is in Alpharetta, comes in at number 2 ranking for the schools in Fulton County, and that translates into number 12 in the state. So you can see these North Atlanta suburbs rank high throughout the state, not just the county that they're in. But again, Chattahoochee High School is going to offer something similar to the schools that Allison just mentioned. They're just done at a little bit higher level.
Yeah, and it's important to know too, and we've talked about this in other videos, but Alpharetta, Milton, Roswell, some of these areas really, and Johns Creek, really start to kind of blend together. So sometimes you'll see a Johns Creek High School with an Alpharetta City. So just be careful of that. If there's a particular school that you want to focus on, your realtor can really tailor the search more to the school than focusing just on the city.
Yeah, that's right.
Northview High School, which is located in Johns Creek, again in Fulton County, ranks number 1 in Fulton County and number 5 in the state. So very highly rated school. The reason for that is, again, going back to what Jen talked about, getting the kids ready for college, higher test scores. The other part of this school is, I think, the diversity. You're going to find a more diverse population here than some of the other schools we're going to talk about.
Okay, so if you want to go to these top ranked schools in Fulton County, where are you going to live? Typically, if you want to go to these schools, you're going to be in Johns Creek and Alpharetta. But those areas, just so you know, are in high demand and they're expensive. I mean, you're looking at a median sales price in Alpharetta of over $700 and a median sales price in Johns Creek of over $600, and that's specifically looking at January over January of this year.
Let's talk about Forsyth County, a little less known in the North Atlanta suburbs, but this county has some of the schools from the city of Cumming and North Alpharetta, and these schools are consistently ranked very highly, again, going back to niche.com and US News and World. And it's worth noting that when we're talking about these schools, we're focusing on public schools.
Okay, so let's start with some of the schools in Forsyth County, and I think in number 4 position, and it's worth noting, is Denmark High School. It is not well known. It's a newer school. It's got new facilities. It's a beautiful school, almost like a college campus, and it is kind of creeping up in the rankings. So you can't go wrong if you're in the area of kind of more North Forsyth and going to Denmark High School.
Lambert High School is another great high school in this Forsyth County. So it's located in the Suwannee area. It's consistently ranked between 2 and 3 in Forsyth County and number 9 in the state.
Yeah, and I think it usually switches places with South Forsyth High School. So whether it's 2 or 3 is just really depending on what year it is. Okay, so number 1 public school in Forsyth County is going to be Alliance Academy and Innovation. And one of the things that stands out about this school is that 81% of the kids in this school take more than one AP class. That's a pretty high percentage of kids taking APs. So that's worth noting. The other thing worth noting about this school is that they do not have any sports programs or fine arts programs. It's really a STEM and technology school. So you've got to be aware of that and make sure that's a good fit for your kid.
Yeah, and this school also, it is a public school, but and I can't remember if it's a magnet or a charter, but I know it uses a lottery system. So if you are moving into this district, just know it's not a guaranteed spot. You can apply your child through the lottery and maybe you'll get in. So where do you live to get access to these schools in Forsyth County? So we already mentioned Suwannee is where you're going to usually be filtered into that Lambert School District. And then the other schools, really, you're going to be living in Cumming. And again, sometimes that leaks into Suwannee and Alpharetta, but generally you're going to be living in Cumming to access these schools. And Cumming is a great area. You know, it's much more affordable than some of the other North Atlanta suburbs that we talk about. The median sales price is around $585,000. So again, compared to the other suburbs, it's pretty affordable. The other great thing about Cumming is that you're going to see a little bit more new construction. It is sort of developing more, trying to catch up with like Alpharetta and what's happening in Johns Creek. So they're working on that like downtown area, more restaurants, more shopping. So Cumming is a great place to get into now because you're going to kind of get in as it's growing into one of those more popular suburbs.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the other thing about Cumming too is you're going to see some of that Johns Creek diversity throughout that area. Okay, so similar to Fulton County, we're going to look at Cobb County next. And Cobb County is a big county. And so I want to note that where we're focusing is really in East Cobb. That is going to bring in really the top schools. And the East Cobb school community historically has always had top ranked schools. And this goes back much further than some of the county schools that we've already talked about. We're looking specifically at East Cobb, like I said, which is an unincorporated area of Marietta. And so hopefully that gives you a little perspective on where we're talking about.
Pope High School in East Cobb has very high ratings. It's a little bit smaller school compared to some of the others we're going to talk about today, and it varies in its ranking. So right now, I think it's in that number 3 spot if you were to look on niche.com or gradeschools.com, but we've seen it drop down to the 4th or 5th. However, you know, I can tell you it has a very good reputation. Again, it's a little bit smaller. The facilities are beautiful. It's a really excellent school and a good choice if you're thinking about moving to the North Atlanta suburbs.
Yeah, and within Pope, they even have like little sub schools, I guess, if you will, that you do have to apply to get into. And that's going to be for like STEM programs. They have one for fine arts and things like that. So there are some specialty areas that you can go to in that school. So if that's a good fit for your child, it's worth looking into.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of the other great magnet programs that are available in Cobb County as well.
Let's move on to the number 2 school in Cobb County, and that's going to be Lassiter High School. It is, when you think of Lassiter and you think of the Cobb County schools, it's really the trifecta along with Pope that Allison just mentioned, and Walton, which was what we're going to talk about in a second. And I think one thing to note about Lassiter, and really a lot of these Cobb County schools, is they really pull in a strong sports program. The sports are just as competitive as the academics are in these schools.
So the school that's at the top of the charts, our number 1 most highly rated school in East Cobb, is going to be Walton High School. Walton High School, you know, it was recently actually renovated and sort of rebuilt in the last 5 years.
It's gorgeous now.
It really is. Great facilities, of course, excellent sports program, and it's really known for its rigor, its high academics. A high percentage of the students there are also in AP classes. If your top priority is schooling, this tends to be the high school that a lot of home buyers focus on.
I mentioned earlier when we started talking about Cobb County, it has always historically been the place to move to for families that schools were a priority. But at the same time, I think now that these other North Atlanta suburbs are developing,
Yeah.
they're really kind of giving these East Cobb schools a run for their money in terms of the academic rigor and things that these schools offer that are becoming highly ranked into the state as well. Before we move on from the Cobb County schools, I think it's really worth noting two other schools in the Cobb County area that don't in and of themselves rank highly, but they have programs that are very desirable and very hard to get into. The first one is Wheeler High School, and that's located in Cobb County, just kind of really outside of East Cobb. Sometimes it's considered East Cobb.
Yeah, it's like right on the edge.
Yeah, but they have a magnet program, and it's a STEM program. You apply to get in. It's very competitive, and it is a fantastic program if you have a kid that is inclined going down the STEM path. These kids graduate and they pretty much have easy rides to schools like Georgia Tech and some of the really good technology colleges.
Yeah, and of course, Walton does have a STEM program as well. But I feel like in the community, you know, this Wheeler STEM program is more desirable. And so you're going to see a lot of the East Cobb kids.
Yeah, and it's important to note that you do not have to live in the school district for Wheeler to apply into this magnet program. And that's going to be the same as the next school, which is located in Smyrna, called Campbell, and they have an IB program. So an international baccalaureate program that, again, you apply to get into. It's highly competitive.
Yeah, my daughter is actually going to be starting there next year. And I think some of the things that were really attractive to her is, you know, this program offers this sort of international perspective. Also, a big benefit is the block schedule. So instead of focusing, I think, on 6 classes, she's going to be able to focus on less classes and have more time. So it's great. There's so many options in Cobb County and also in Fulton County. So it's good to understand all the different programs so that as your kids grow up, you know you have options that sort of fit what they're looking to do in the future.
Yeah. Okay, so where are you going to live if you want to go to these Cobb County schools? And the two that we just talked about, you really can live anywhere because they are open to students that don't live just in the county or that school district. But if you are interested in Pope and Lassiter and Walton, you're going to be living in the East Cobb area. And affordability there can be tough. I mean, I think you can't get into any of these areas for less than $500. And if you are going to be in Walton, you're really going to have to be more in like the million.
The real estate values really go along with how high the school ranks. So it's going to be, I think, more expensive when you're in the Walton district. I think Pope and Lassiter are pretty even in terms of values, home values. So, you know, if you're trying to save some money, consider these other schools because you're going to be able to get a little bit more for your buck.
Yep, that's right. Okay, so as we promised, we're going to talk about some hidden gems that really have some great schools and that have some great affordability. They are sometimes overlooked a little bit, and they may not have the rankings and quite as high on the list as some of these schools that we've talked to, but they are really good schools and they're a great option.
That's right. And one of those counties is Cherokee County. Now, we've talked about Woodstock before, but Cherokee County also is going to include Canton. And these schools have really come up over the years. Again, East Cobb used to be sort of the number one choice, and now there are many more. So schools like Etowah, River Ridge, Creekview, these are great schools. And again, you're going to have a little bit more affordability there than you would have in places like Fulton County and East Cobb.
Yeah, and I think River Ridge is one to point out because where that is located in Woodstock is just on the border of Roswell. So you've got all of the things that people love about Roswell. You're very close to the historic Woodstock downtown area. And so home prices in this area are starting to go up. So you want to get in there as soon as you can to have the affordability, but also that really great school.
Next up is the Gwinnett School County District. So when we talk about Gwinnett, we're really talking about Peachtree Corners, Duluth, Lawrenceville. These schools are very highly rated, and they definitely offer a slightly different vibe than I think you're going to find in the North Atlanta suburbs.
Yeah, I mean, the number one school in the state, and it is consistently number one. I don't even know the last time it's been bumped out of number one, is the School of Gwinnett Mathematics, Science, and Technology. It is located in Lawrenceville. So if you are looking for that top tier, no one can touch it, STEM school, Lawrenceville is going to be your place to go. And as a bonus, Lawrenceville is probably the most affordable place that we've talked about today. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
And just like the Innovation Academy, this school is a charter magnet school, but it has a lottery system. So again, you're not going to be applying to this school based on your academics, but you would apply to the lottery. One more thing I want to talk about is, because we've mentioned some of the sort of more affordable areas, is the tax rate. It's important to look at what the tax benefits are in each area. And traditionally, Cobb County has the lowest tax rate when you compare it to Gwinnett and Fulton County and Forsyth County. So just something to be aware of to help you understand what it's going to cost to live in each of these areas. We know how difficult it is to pick out the right school district for your children, especially if they're little. You don't exactly know where they're going to fall. So reach out to Jen and I. We can help you sort through and navigate the different counties and the different schools and the different programs so that you can find yourself in a home where you have options for whatever those needs might be in the future for your kids.
Yeah, that's right. And we would love to know your thoughts on these schools that we talked about today. Do you have a kid that goes there? Let us know what you think. Drop it in the comments. And if you're thinking about making a move to the North Atlanta suburbs, reach out to us. We're here to help. Our information is listed on the screen, and we look forward to hearing from you.
And don't forget to check out next week's video and take a look at our other videos. Again, we'd love to hear what you think.
Yep, we'll see you next week.